Shopify and WooCommerce are two massive e-commerce sites, and in this video I'm going to break down the pros and cons of each so that by the end of this video you'll know exactly which one works best for you. Plus, I have the hookup for both of these sites and I have a link in the description box below, so stay tuned to the end of this video so that you know what these discounts are and you can choose which platform works best for you. I'm also going to answer the 5 biggest questions I get about these platforms, so stay tuned to the end of this video, but let's dive into first the pros of Shopify. Pro number 1 is that Shopify has better templates. WooCommerce also has great templates for you to use, but in my opinion, I think Shopify's templates are a little more professional. Pro number 2 is that Shopify is easier to use. Shopify was built from the ground up for e-commerce, so they've really built something that helps people make and sell their products on their site. Plus, they have 24/7 support, so anytime you have a question, they are always there and available for you so that you can solve problems much quicker and easier. Pro number 3 is that Shopify has better add-ons and apps, and overall, in my opinion, they are much more professional compared to WooCommerce or some other sites. Pro number 4 is that they also have great integrations, so they have some of the better ones, and again, because they are so professional, they have ways for you to incorporate these integrations very easily to your site. So maybe you wanted to do an email integration or anything of that nature, you can search it easily and add it to your site. Pro number 5 is that Shopify also has a great innovative team. And since you do have to pay for Shopify, it motivates them to really create a system and a site overall that is good and satisfactory for their customers. And pro number 6 for Shopify is that there seems to be less that can go wrong with this site. So there are not a lot of moments when your site goes down or any other issues with it, so that really should give you a peace of mind when you're working with Shopify. Next, let's go into the pros of WooCommerce because there's definitely some big ones here. The first pro for WooCommerce is that it's free. Kind of. WooCommerce does have a free plugin for WordPress, so if you want to have a WooCommerce site, you need WordPress, and that means you do have to pay a bit for hosting, but it's really not that bad. And that leads me into the second pro, and that being that it is cheaper. WooCommerce is much cheaper than Shopify, so if you're looking to just dip your toes into the e-commerce world, then WooCommerce is a better budget-friendly option for you. I am trying to negotiate some good discounts for you guys, so I'm always updating that with the links below in the description box so you can check it out there. The third pro with WooCommerce is that it is customizable, which means that you can change anything on the site. You can really make it unique and stand out. WooCommerce is an open source, so there's a lot of developers always trying to make the sites better, so having that advantage of being able to customize it and making it unique is a really good standout pro for WooCommerce. The next pro is that WooCommerce won't shut you down. You don't have to go through a third party with WooCommerce. And with Shopify, it's pretty rare that they will shut down your site, but it has happened, whereas with WooCommerce, it's pretty rare and you'll have a lot of more stability with the site. Another great pro is that WooCommerce is great for blogging if that is your focus. You can do content marketing with WordPress, which is what you use for WooCommerce, so it's a really easy way to generate another form of marketing. Now let's shift over to the cons of both sites. Let's start with Shopify. The first con is that Shopify is the more expensive option. It may be slightly cheaper to start with Shopify compared to other web hosting companies, however, it tends to run more on the expensive side. You'll see that it's a lot cheaper to start with a lot of other web hosting sites because they do ask you to pay maybe a year upfront, which sounds like a lot, but you do get a discount per month if you do it that way. And with Shopify, you don't have to do that. But with WooCommerce, you will see that you actually will save a little more money down the road because with Shopify, their monthly cost is a lot more expensive. So that's just something to keep in mind. Con number 2 is that there's a high risk for people that are not invited to the site. Shopify has the right to shut down any site at any moment without really any notice. This is especially true for some high-risk products that people might be selling, so that is a big con for Shopify. Con number 3 is that you do need more third-party apps. These apps tend to be a little more expensive than you would find on WooCommerce, and you'll have to pay for these if there are certain functions that you want to have on your site. Though by experience, it does seem to work better, these apps, on Shopify than it does on WooCommerce, but it's just something else to keep in mind. And con number 4 is that there are fees associated with Shopify. So anytime that you make a sale, there's about a 2.5 or more fee for each sale that you make. Now this is pretty common for really any site that you use because there's always credit card transaction fees that these sites require from you. And that's just really the business of having an online business. But of course these fees do add up and it's something that you always want to make sure that you're factoring in when you are working on your budget or seeing how much you're spending and making on these sites. Now let's dive into the cons for WooCommerce. Con number 1 is that you will have some technical problems with the site. And this has been pretty common from what I've heard of other people using WooCommerce. It seems that at some point in your journey, you will have some technical difficulties that you'll need to resolve. And that can be a headache, especially if you don't realize that you're having these technical issues with maybe a checkout format or whatever it is that customers are experiencing on your site. It might be that it's down for a while and you don't notice. So it's just something that can come up, and I've heard from other people. Con number 2 is that there are less integrations with WooCommerce compared to Shopify. You'll see that if you're comparing both sites and trying them out, that you'll find less of these options on WooCommerce than on Shopify. Con number 3 with WooCommerce is that you do have to get Stripe. You can also use PayPal, but you'll need one of these in order to have that checkout process for the customer. And there are fees associated with this as well. Like I mentioned earlier, anytime that there are credit card transaction fees, those sites are going to want a little bit of that. But with Shopify, you have a direct payment option in there while using Shopify, whereas with WooCommerce, you will need either Stripe or PayPal integrated so that the customers can pay with their credit cards. So the big question is, which one should you use for your business? And it really does depend. It's almost like trying to compare Android and iPhone. It's not that one is better than the other. It just depends on what your product is and what you're looking to get out of the sites. If you're willing to pay more for a more professional site, something that is commonly used, and you're wanting to expect a little less technical issues or whatever the case may be, then Shopify is the answer. If you're wanting to save money, if that's a bigger concern for you and you want to go in and play around with a site, then WooCommerce is the answer. I have explored both sites, and as a result, I do have the hookup with a link down below. You can use that link to get discounts on either site, or if you want to try out both, it's a really good opportunity as well. And as a thank you for trying it out using the link and trying out these sites, I will give you a free one-on-one call. It'll be a 30-minute talk so we can discuss about your business and a little bit more about each site if you'd like. Starting an e-commerce website has really been such a great opportunity in my life, and I'd love for you to experience the same. So check out the links below, sign up, and let's get that one-on-one call together. And thanks so much. I'll catch you in the next video.